I'll just go ahead and fade it over and get started here. Although I'm enjoying the song, I kind of want to let it get to the end, but probably shouldn't. All right, so anyway, hello, good afternoon, and welcome to a live stream. I am Zach Whalen, and this is a live stream mainly intended for students in my DGST 101 Intro to Digital Studies class. So if you're out there watching, good afternoon, hello, welcome to this live stream for today. So today's live stream, I'm going to do things a little differently. I'll start out kind of normally, but I'm also, the sort of second half of this will be, or really second, well, most of it probably, will be me just kind of playing around with some things because I wanted to try out some of the digital methodological stuff that I introduced yesterday, and I have some things to work on, and I thought I would just kind of work on it on the stream and show you what I'm doing. So that'll be the major part of it. But first I wanted to talk a bit about just the HTML, CSS side of your project for this week. So there are a lot of things there that could be interesting to go over. So what I'm going to do is give you just a very quick introduction to working with HTML, CSS on your domain. So if you're a student in this class and you're a student at UMW, you have a domain and you have the ability to put HTML here. Now, if you've started one of the tutorials like W3 Schools or Codecademy or any of the others that I recommended, they might tell you to work in a text editor on your own computer and then look at things in a web browser. That's kind of the traditional way of learning HTML. That's how I learned it. So if you're still doing that, then by all means continue doing that. But take note of what I'm showing you next, because that will be what you need to do eventually with that HTML document in order for it to appear on the web. So I'm going to show you how to do the web part of that. This will be a little step-by-step, but not too formal. I just wanted to kind of walk through it. I think seeing it visually helps a lot. One thing that you should always know about with things like what I'm about to show you is that there is help. Whoops, didn't mean to go full screen. There is help in a couple places. You can, if you go to umw.domains, the main page for UMW domains, you can get support, as you see here with the link. There are several different guides for the kinds of things we're talking about, or you can also just use this form to send a question to the administrators, and that would be things that are specific to UMW domains, like if like your quota is full or you can't update software or something like that. That's the kind of thing that they can help with usually. For more general tech kind of things, the help desk is usually the place to go. But anyway, yeah, you can certainly try. In the guides here, we can take a look at the quite a few different things here, and in most cases, if there's something you're trying to do, there's a guide for it. You can find some step-by-step instructions, some screenshots explaining what to do. So today I'm going to be talking about something that I don't see here yet. Maybe it's in here. I'm going to be talking about using the file manager in cPanel. Okay, no, I don't see it. Interesting. So, well, good thing I'm explaining it to you now. It's actually not too complicated, so this won't take long. All right, so this is my main domains dashboard. I need to switch to the right cPanel account real quick. So you as a student will see something very similar to this, but with probably fewer installations and things going on. We're not dealing with WordPress here. We're not dealing with anything like that. I'm going to show you something first. I don't recommend following along what I'm doing yet, because I'm going to show it to you in a little bit of an out of order kind of way. All right, so first of all, we know what domains are and what subdomains are, hopefully by now. So your domain is, in most of your cases, you ended up with yourname.com or .net or something like that. That's your domain. If you remember from like the first or second day of class, I talked about domains versus subdirectories, and a subdomain, you remember, will go before a domain name. For example, I explained something about a subdomain yesterday. So DGST101.net is the main website for information about this course. But I'm building a new version of this website, and I'm sticking it in this subdomain, which is new.dgst101.net. So when I talk about subdomains, those are the things I'm creating there. All right, so we're going to come back to that in a moment. But first of all, I wanted to show you what this tool here does. This is the file manager. And the file manager is a way of accessing all of the files and folders and software and images and media and anything that is uploaded to your website is stored here in the file manager. And the file manager really is just another way of looking at your web server. So your web server is a computer, just like the one you're using to watch this, and it has files in certain places, and those files are in certain folders, and it's structured hierarchically. These are, whatever kind of computer you have, it is organized this way. The computer that runs your website is also organized that way, and you can access that way of seeing its organization by using the file manager. I have a ton of stuff here, obviously. If you open the file manager, you'll see a lot less, but there are a few things worth knowing about this. Right, so here's that subdomain that I created a while ago, a quick fake temporary subdomain.dgst101.net. The way UMW domains is set up, every time you make a subdomain, it makes a directory or a folder in your web server for the content of that subdomain, and that's separate from the content of your main domain. Right, I feel like this is already getting kind of abstract, so bear with me here a little bit longer. But these are folders, and if they are mapped to a subdomain, or if they are underneath, that is inside of this folder here called public_HTML, then it's visible on the web. There are quite a few files and folders that you have on your server that are not meant to be visible. They're administrative kind of things. So, but the things that are visible are in this special folder called public_HTML, public_HTML. So what I recommend for this project is making a subdomain kind of like this one. Like I have here, practice.dgst101.net. And that's something that I'm going to use here in a moment to show you how to create some HTML. And you can see I've done this once before, a couple years ago it looks like. But making a subdomain, that is a process you might have already done, probably already did, when you decided where to install WordPress a few weeks ago. And that, I'm not going to go through that whole process now because there's a guide for it and you've probably already done it. But once you've created that subdomain, let's say you call it practice.yourname.com, then you should be able to find it in the file manager on the left. So you can look down the left to see the top level files and folders, and you should see the one that you created, and this is where I can see practice.html, practice.dgst101.net rather. Okay. So the file manager is great actually because it lets you upload files. So you can upload a file directly here, you can download files from it, you can edit these files here. In most cases, just directly through the file manager software, through the web browser like I'm doing right now. That said, when I'm working on HTML stuff, I personally prefer usually to work offline and then when I'm done, upload the whole project. But just for the purposes of demonstration and just commonality of experience, I think this is a decent way to do it, which is through the file manager. All of you can do this. There's no special software to download. You've already got access to this through UMW domains. So that's a way to go. If you do, I personally do prefer Sublime Text as my go-to like code-based text editor, but there's nothing super special about it. It just tends to work well. Hey, good afternoon, Clown, Chosen Clown. Good to see you online. Thanks for saying hi. So I'm going to show you how to create a web page on here. So this is sorry, my kids are. There's a conversation going on our Alexa devices nearby. I'm going to create a file here, and that button is way up in the top left, sometimes kind of hard to see, but straight above my head here it says plus file. So we're going to go plus file, and then I'll call this my webpage.html. Notice that I added the .html. That is very important because the .html tells the web server and the web browser what kind of thing is this, and they know what to do in order to make sure it gets displayed correctly. They would do different things if this was a PHP file or a JPEG file, and so we want HTML when we're talking about creating a web page. And if you started working through the tutorials in Codecademy, that's what you were creating. You were creating an HTML web page. If you started with W3 Schools, you were working on an HTML file, and that's what we're creating, a document that is named something that ends in .html. Okay, so there it is, and we can do two ways of editing this, and one, this is kind of tricky, so let me show you what not to do actually. You might think, well, I'm working on HTML, and there's an option here that says HTML edit. I don't recommend using that one. It is counterintuitively not an HTML editor. It is what's called a WYSIWYG editor. It's a document editor that will transmorphize whatever you specify into HTML code for you. And I want you to do it the hard way, or the better way, which is just edit the file in the code editor, not in the HTML editor, because the HTML editor, again, is not really, you're not really editing HTML. So kind of, it sounds like I'm being picky about it, but really, like, you're going to have a bad time if you go this way. Go with edit, and I'll show you what that looks like. So this is it. This is a plain text editor, and it's already set up to write HTML, and I should be good to go. So if you've already done one of the tutorials, you know a bit about the basic skeleton. I'll just kind of go through it briefly here. The first thing you always want to do is the doc type, And oh yeah, is that supposed to be all caps? I always forget. And so that's good enough. Doc types used to be a lot more complex because there used to be lots of different versions and flavors of HTML, but now it's all kind of come together with HTML5. So HTML is a language built on tags, and so a tag is always this kind of thing. You always have this. I'm going to make this bigger. You have this kind of thing opening it, and then this kind of thing closing it. It's the same thing. HTML. There are angle brackets around the name of the tag at the beginning, and at the end there's angle brackets again, but there's also a / in front of the name of it. And so that pattern repeats over and over and over and over and over again. So as you write HTML, you will recognize it and get used to it. I'm just going to make the text bigger here so I don't make the interface extra big too. Can I really not go higher than 24? Okay, well, that'll work, I guess. So HTML structure always opens and closes. So HTML itself is the opening and closing that contains everything. You should also then have a head, which opens and closes. And then after the head closes, you should open a body and then close the body just before HTML closes. The head area here where I'm typing on lines 3 and so on is an area where you store things that are about the web page but not visible on the web page. And then everything you want visible on the web page appears down here inside of the body. So that would be things like, well, nothing yet, right? So let's say something. Is web page one word? It probably is. So there we go. So there's some text I've written. Hello, this is a web page. Actually, I want to take that tag off for a second so I can show you the difference. Here is just some raw text inside of the body tag. Let's save the changes and let's take a look at this file. The way I like to look at, and the way I like to work is I like to have the code I'm working on here and then in a tab just to the right of it, have the visible version of it, the version that we can see. So let's take a look at that file. Now remember that's in a subdomain called practice.dgst101.net. So if I open that, I'm going to need to spell it right. I've added an extra T. There we go. So a subdomain by itself with no software or anything else running in it, nothing like WordPress. It's just going to be a list of the files in that folder. So here, there's the one file that I had already in there, and then there's this mywebpage.html file. So this is the one I just worked on. Let me click on it, and you can see what I just wrote there. One second, I'm going to go close my door. All right. My daughter's friend is visiting, and one of the things that they do together is argue about what they should do together. So that's what's happening. Okay, so the so let's make this look a little different, and that's what HTML is really doing. You're marking up text. Remember, the name HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, so we mark up the text in a specific way following this pattern, and let's mark it up by adding an H1. Notice with this editor, by the way, it automatically adds the second half of the tag, just to make sure you don't forget it, but sometimes it does it, if you don't expect that, you might end up with an extra one, so you always want to make sure you don't have an extra one. So this is it, right? So H1 now is going to look a little different, but it's not the looking different that's important, and this is kind of hard to get your head around when you're first getting started, but the H1 does, in this case, make it bigger, but H1 doesn't mean make it bigger. H1 means this is important. This is the main thing on this page. So H1 is like the first level heading, the highest level of heading you can add on a page. Usually your title would go here. So you have to think about HTML as being semantic structurally, and then later when we get to and take a look at CSS, CSS is all about presentation. So HTML is structure, semantics, content, and then CSS is all about design, presentation, how it looks. Those are two languages built together. CSS is built on top of HTML, so you should learn HTML first. But CSS is its own thing. The syntax is very different, but they lock together in a really beautiful way, I think. So this is a web page, and I'm not going to go much further in terms of an HTML tutorial because you're finding your own way with W3 Schools or Codecademy and videos on YouTube, and there's lots of great YouTube videos about how to create stuff with HTML. The main thing I wanted to get across is how you can do this within our system, like the system that we have on UMW domains. This is how you can go from just writing HTML in an abstract kind of way to actually putting it on your website. So this is how you do it. If you have questions about this thing that I just showed you, of course you can reach out to me, use the troubleshooting channel. Often the biggest thing people have a hard time is figuring out where something is. Like you think you made it, but you can't find it. So that's the kind of thing I'm happy to help figure out. Of course, the DGST can also be helpful for this. That is, they do have, actually I don't think I can open their booking portal, can I? No, I can't. But because I'm a faculty, it doesn't let me book an appointment with them. But they do, I believe, have tutorials set up with HTML and CSS support. At least it depends on who they have on staff over the summer. But I'm sure they can route you to some support if I'm not available, or if none of the summer consultants are able to help with that. Actually, I don't know if Kayla's watching right now, but it doesn't look like she's online. Okay, well, let's go on and take a look at some other things. Again, HTML is, I think it's great. I really like writing in HTML. Like I like coding, like even just writing my documents and my papers I'm working on and stuff. I often write in HTML or Markdown, which is like a simplified version of HTML. And it just, it's there. It's just you and your words, you and your ideas. All right. There's something really appealing about that to me. Okay, so I'm going to move on. I'm going to switch my setup here briefly, and actually hide a few things first, and I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to do a little bit of work here, and this next bit is totally like experimental, I guess. I'm trying to figure out if I don't know for sure if this is going to work or what the results are going to be, but that's kind of the fun of a methodological practice. Like you want to see what's going to happen. Okay, so let me switch my imagery over here, and I'm sharing my desktop here, and because there are some things that I'm going to be using that are just like little windows that pop up and out, and it's a little bit tricky to get OBS tracking everything. So I'm just going to share my desktop. Apologies for the mess. It's a lot of stuff, but it's fine. What I'm interested in is this TV show Loki, and specifically, there was a claim that I heard that there might be some kind of pattern to the dominant color schemes in each episode. I mentioned this claim in the assignment instructions as one of the examples you might want to try to investigate. It's a kind of hypothesis that you can try to prove or disprove if you look at the content of the episodes in certain ways. You could, always take a screenshot or look at key scenes, but that might it would be easy to cherry pick particular shots that confirmed that theory. And the question is, like, is there on balance like more yellow tinged shots in episode 1, more purple tinged shots in episode 3? That seems to be my recollection, but from having watched them, but there's a way that we could test whether or not that's actually a different proportions, and I'm going to try it out here. So I do have 3 episodes on my computer. I also have this movie Space Odyssey, 2001: A Space Odyssey, because I see echoes of Kubrick in the in Loki, specifically the TVA, which has this like 60s futurism look to it, which you see in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Also, lots of like shots composed symmetrically, so you see this all these interesting geometric shapes. To me, it feels like that's an homage to Kubrick, and it also reminds me of some specific scenes in Space Odyssey. So I have it here, and I thought it might be interesting to do some work with that as well, to see what that looks like. If you haven't seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, it's a film classic. You should see it. It's good. It is very slow and philosophical, but yeah, scenes like this. So this is a space. I just clicked to a random point in it, but this is a space, like a rocket, like a ship going out into outer space. But it's like a commercial space. It's like an airline, but going to space instead of going across the country. And what's so interesting to me about this is the way that everything is so designed and intricate and empty. There's hardly anyone using these spaces, and you kind of get the feeling of that too from the TVA sometimes, is that it feels weirdly empty if you look at it in Loki. So I just feel like there's a bit of an echo there. I don't know what she's doing. It's a great movie. There's so many interesting design pieces in it. So I'm gonna close that now, and I'm gonna try a few things. So I'll kind of explain my process as I'm going. But I have the 3 episodes here. I did try to rip these myself, I'll just say, but I have a capture card, and then I sent the I couldn't capture directly using OBS, so because of digital rights management. So my setup is that I send the video through from my laptop into my capture card, and then I capture the input of use OBS to capture the capture card, and that works to bypass the DRM encryption stuff. But the visual, like the video, was really dark for some reason when it came through, and so I need to look at some settings and try to play with it. But I literally just, I did this morning, so I haven't had time to tweak it. But yeah, I don't know even how to tweak it actually. So I ended up getting these episodes in a different way. I won't say what that was, but I got them and I feel okay about it. So this is episode 1, and obviously I'm not going to show the whole episode, but this is it's a hour-long thing. I'm going to be working with this software called ffmpeg. So first of all, how do I clear in here? This is a command line tool, and I'm going to start over again within the command line. So if you wanted to do something like this, I really would recommend getting to know the command line. I don't have time to go through a whole tutorial of how the command line works, but a couple things are I think pretty easy to explain. I just made it bigger. It didn't make the text very big, but hopefully you can kind of see it directly above me. If you notice, it says c:users/ZachW. That's my username of this computer. And there's a blinking cursor. This is a command line interface, so I can't click or do anything. I can just type. But what I type is important because that's going to do some things in this environment. The text that you see on the left is always telling you where you are. And where you are is important, and it's the same kind of sense of where you are that's established by this kind of thing at the top of a Explorer window, I think they call it. It's actually the same kind of address. So you see it says C user ZachW desktop Loki S1 E1. So I'm going to try to move my command line location to that same location that I can see in that folder. The command in Windows and Mac is the same now. It's CD. It used to be different, but now it's the same. CD, and then you can change directories to the directory you're interested in. So now I'm on the desktop, and now I'm in Loki. Again, that's CD. And you see what I did there? I typed ls because ls is how you view the contents of the folder you're in currently. I am on a Windows computer right now. I'm usually doing this on a Mac or a Linux computer where the command to list the contents is ls. That's just a habit, but on Windows it's dir. And so you can see that this is the content of that folder. So this is just another way of seeing this. Like these two things are the same. I am in the same location here visually as I am here in the text editor. It's important to remember where you are, and because paths matter and software matters. All right. Okay, so let's do a couple things here. I'm going to make a directory here under S1E1, and I'll call this frames because I'm going to extract some frames from this episode. And to do that, I'm going to need to use ffmpeg, which is a command line software that I've already installed, and I'm going to go ahead and just do it. It's just ffmpeg to invoke the software, and then you give it whatever you're trying to do with it. You give it instructions. So I'm going to say, let's see, I'm in the way, aren't I? I'm going to say, and by the way, I'm narrating what I'm doing. I don't really view this as a tutorial, so if I were to do a whole tutorial, I would probably be approaching this differently. This is more of me just experimenting and playing around. So, I hope it's interesting, but if you want to do this yourself, I could help you sometime, but just let me know. The main thing is installing ffmpeg and then figuring out how to work with your command line. Okay, so I'm going to take as input S1E1. Oops, no, I'm not in S1E1 yet. I need to go in there. So now I'm in the directory. I did it again with ls. Okay, so let's get ffmpeg back, and then -i means input. So what file am I inputting here? I'm inputting s1e1.mkv. I'm going to extract frames at a rate of, let's do every 2 seconds. So that's 0.5. -r means rate, and then 0.5 is the rate I'm going to use. And then what I'm going to give it next is a template for naming files that are going to be created here very quickly. So it's going to be creating JPEG images, and this is a naming template that it's going to use to give these all names that have consecutive numbers in their file name. Okay, I think that's it. Let's see if it'll work. Yeah, there it goes. So this is ffmpeg running, and it will do this for however long it needs. It's basically just reporting how it's doing, and it's going through it as it looks like it's going through it at about 12 times speed, 11.9, which is great. This computer thankfully has enough RAM to handle this and stream at the same time, so it should be okay. But if it does slow down, I apologize, but I think it's doing fine. Looks like it's doing fine. It's hard to say how long this will take because I don't know how long this is, but we can take a peek at the images that are being created, and yeah, pretty interesting. I think every 2 seconds was a good number because you can see distinct shots separated here. So that's pretty good, especially if we're just trying to get a sense of the overall color scheme. I think this is a pretty good sample. If we were going to try to make an animated GIF, we would want to get probably 12 frames a second, but only of a few seconds worth, which is a different command in ffmpeg. I'd have to look that up. So yeah, I mean, just kind of looking at all these files being created at a glance like this, you can kind of see, yeah, I mean, there is, I feel like, kind of a yellowish flavor to these, but I'm not very far into the episode yet. Looks like it's going to take a bit longer. Yeah, we're only up to 500. This will probably be a few thousand JPEGs by the time we're done. Yeah, well, I mean, I wish I had done this before the stream started, but this is actually kind of good to show you the process. It is a little time consuming, but if you can believe it, much faster on this computer than it used to be. I guess I could run more than one of these at once, but yeah, let me do that. I'm gonna actually start another one so that I can get to some results faster, some comparative results. All right, so back to Loki. Let's take a look at episode 2 and do the same thing. What's this? Went to the wrong folder. Okay. Do the same thing for episode 2. Every 2 seconds, and same pattern for file names for JPEGs. Gonna make a bunch of JPEGs. And let's see. Yeah, there we go. I don't know why sometimes ffmpeg will display like this, like one line that just updates, and then sometimes it'll display it like streaming down like that. I don't know why. It kind of looks like the Matrix when it goes like that. So that's going, I guess, and amazingly, I'm still streaming at full speed according to my metrics here, so that's amazing. This computer I'm very impressed with this computer. Okay, so that should be good. I've got another episode. Let's go ahead and do that one too at the same time. I mean, I don't know how many I can do at once. This is kind of fun. Let's see how many I can do. I'll go and do Loki, episode 3. Do it again. Am I in the right place? Yep. I don't know. Should I put on background music? There's a lot of me just kind of talking and mumbling to myself here today. No, I don't want to do it. Okay. So frames, image 0.05 data JPEG. Okay, so basically the episode 1 will be done soon, I guess, and then the other 2 will finish while I'm processing and doing some work with episode 1, and then hopefully we'll have some things to compare and contrast. Basically, what I'm going to try to do is create a couple of different visualizations of all these together. Oh, it just finished. Great. So this will be, I'm going to first use IMJ, which is a tool I created to create a barcode and see how that looks, and then I might do a montage. I think that might be useful, and then I don't think the plot, well, maybe I'll try the plot. That would be interesting, actually. And then I'll use ImageJ to make one of those compressed things where it puts every frame into a single image and see what that looks like. Okay, so that's my process. Let's see how it looks, but let's first of all make sure that these files all look good, and they do. Yeah, I mean, looking through this, I do see a lot of yellow, so I forget which was which Infinity Stone, but there seems to be there might be something to that. All right, so how many images did we end up with? Oh, okay, only 1,500. That's not too bad. So let's do some work on these images. So this tool here is called img. It has this URL, zachwayland.net/pg/imj. And let's take a look. So let's upload these. So just a couple of notes. I'm not actually uploading whenever I do this. It looks like I am, but it's actually not being stored on my website. It's not being uploaded to my website. Everything is actually happening on your computer. So whenever you use this tool. So right now it's working on my desktop computer, not my web server. Right, so just FYI. Let's do a barcode. Let's do it with no smoothing yet, just the raw. Whoa. Huh, interesting. So, okay. What happened here and here? See what I mean? Like right here. I think that's the opening credits, which probably don't have the letterboxing, but what's happening over there? I don't remember that. Now I'm going to go back through and see where the letterboxing disappears. That's an interesting thing I did not notice. But hopefully you see what I'm talking about. It's like the vertical stripe that goes all the way to the top and the bottom. Because otherwise the black at the top and the bottom is just the standard like letterboxing, right? So that's where there is no imagery, just to make the aspect ratio more cinematic. But I don't remember. Could that be the closing credits? No, surely not. That's like a little past halfway. Oh, it's the DB Cooper scene. Huh. Yeah, I did not notice that. Or is it just when he jumps out? Yeah, I don't know if you've seen this episode, maybe this is a spoiler, but he's showing off his different things that he's done over the years, and one of these was, there is an actual famous missing person case of DB Cooper, and this is their version of this, but that shot right there, right? So but yeah, check it out. So the letterboxing actually goes away gradually. I did not even notice this when I watched this episode. So you can see it in this frame, it's still there, and then this one, it's like starting to go away. So basically when you watched it, you would see the image kind of expand its aspect ratio and then snap back right after this shot. I wonder why they did that. That's a really interesting choice. And everything else, yeah, going on is like that letterboxing. That's cool. So that's the kind of thing I didn't notice when I watched the episode, but this software let me notice it. So pretty neat. Okay, so let's try a couple other things. So the smoothing here lets me do a couple ways of working through this. Let's say we want to look at the average color. And so the average color is not often that interesting, because if you look at, actually I should save these so I can compare them. Because if you think of like an image that has a lot of contrasting colors, it might be really bright, but then if you sort of mix all that together like paint, then it's going to end up being like brown. So when you see something that's very colorful on screen, it might become kind of brown and muddy when you do the average coloring, the color averaging like this. And that seems to be what is happening here. So I'm going to go ahead and save this image so that I can take a look at it in comparison in a minute. Barcode average. And let's do a couple other ways of doing this. Let's go back to the no smoothing, just the raw images. Let's get that one. Barcode average. Oh, no, it's not average. Barcode raw.png. And I'll do one more. The other one is dominant color. So what this does is it will pick what is the most popular color. So not like what is the most average color or whatever, but of all the colors being used, which one is being used the most. And it's a, it doesn't always tell you much, but we'll see. It does take a bit more processing to do this one, so you can see it taking its time here. Looks like the other two are done with their frame extractions. Actually very dark. So even, yeah, it is a relatively dark episode. Although I think this is the opening credits again right here. Yeah, actually, I mean, looking at it here, right? So you see the same pattern we saw before. This opening bit is I think the sort of cold open teaser that starts with that bit from Infinity War, and then the scene in Mongolia, and then all the TVA stuff is the darker banding right here. And then right here, that's this guy again. And then the darker banding is every episode in the TVA. Now, I guess one thing worth noting too is that the way that this calculates these colors and everything, it doesn't know that that's letterboxing, so it just includes that in the color, and so that's why the average might end up looking kind of dark, because it thinks there's all this black in it. So that's a bit, and that's definitely going to change the results. If I wanted to be really precise, I might crop those out first or something, but in this case, we'll just kind of note that that's part of the information we're seeing. Sometimes color palettes is interesting. This takes the top 3 most popular colors on a page, and sometimes if there's quirks like a lot of black, right, because of letterboxing, and when you do this, this lets you isolate the second most popular color, which is going to be that middle band, and sometimes that's more interesting than looking at the mathematically most popular color. Actually, I mean, looking at that middle band there, that seems to be really much more distinctive and characteristic of the episode. Yeah, I wanted to rewrite this. I mean, I wrote the code for this, but I think one thing I would like to add at some point is, instead of just showing them on 3 bands like that, actually show them by how much there is, so that you would see like how much is, like how popular, how far ahead of black of the, like how much of the image is that color, right? So that you can compare it a little bit more easily. Okay, so that looks pretty good actually. And I think again that middle band is what I'm most interested in. So, but this will all be a lot easier to think about once we have more than one thing to compare to. Okay, so that's pretty good. Let's do just a basic montage, and 2016, that should work. And then we'll have the whole episode to look at a glance, if we need to. And again, you can really see the letterboxing in this view of it. Kind of a business card look to it. All right, so we'll just call that a montage. And then let's try the plot thing. The plot thing sometimes, I don't know. So we've got hue, which is color, and that's probably the most, we'll do that. We'll do brightness and see what that looks like. So again, if our theory is correct, we should see some clustering in this plot thing. So we should see things kind of clustering around like a yellow point, which is what we actually do see over there on the left. But a lot of it is so dark that it's kind of hard to tell. But that's interesting. Even the really dark ones it's saying here, are predominantly yellowish because they're in that vertical part of the hue projection thing. I think another thing would be cool of this one, by the way, is like you can see these images are just sort of stacking on top of each other when they're really similar. It would be pretty interesting, I think, to somehow make that a Z projection, so they kind of come up in some way, so you can kind of see whenever they are stacking on top of each other that they're accumulating on that one spot. Because as it is, they just sort of fill in that spot, and then that spot, it just looks like it's all filled in. Pretty interesting. Okay, so let's save this one. This is the hue plot, we'll call it. Great. Okay, so that was episode 1, and I've now got some images I can look at to kind of understand what's going on with it. I can also make this a little bigger in my Explorer window here to take a look. All right, so let's do some comparison. Let me refresh and start over again, and let's take a look at episode 2. So episode 2, and I'll go ahead and open all those files. About the same number, a little bit more, but not too bad. Well, let's just do the basic barcode. Okay, interesting. So it definitely, it does not do, it looks like it briefly breaks the letterboxing, but I think that's just the briefer opening credits over there on the left, just barely, like just right above my head here. But interesting, yeah. I mean, it does kind of look different already. Let's save it and run through all these other ones. So this is barcode, basic barcode, right? Well, just to be consistent, let me make that barcode. Oh, there we go. And then let's try another one. Let's try average color. Yeah, it looks really muddy. This average color, it just doesn't really tell you much. Well, there's something super red right there. That's intriguing. Makes you wonder what that is. Okay, so, and this is barcode average.png. Okay, so let's try dominance. Or yeah, let's do, dominant's not very good. Let's try color palettes. Let's just skip the dominant one, because I didn't even bother saving it last time either. But this one, might be more interesting in that second band. I'm seeing a lot of yellow again. I mean, I think that's just the TVA. I think the TVA as a location tends to have that color scheme. And like, if I remember correctly, they spend most of the first part of this episode in the TVA, so it makes sense. I'm not sure why this one takes so much longer. It is, the algorithm just runs a little slower. Maybe because it has to actually do, like, sample more pixels in order to compute like what's going on. The actual image sampling algorithms I did not write. I just wrote the interface for it all. Palettes. Okay, so there's that. And then let's do the basic montage thing. Just the standard settings here. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this whole scene in the... Wait, what episode was this? Variant? Like this one, like the scene in the shopping center kind of thing at the end might be a different color. But yeah, overall, I don't really see this. This one does not seem to have a dominant color scheme associated with it. I mean, there's a strong blue streak right there. What is that? Yeah, this scene here at the rocks cart is pretty distinctly blue, so that could be referencing the, what was it, the soulstone thing, or the, the cube one. I think that actually appeared in this episode, maybe. I don't know. So this is inconclusive to me, but let's try the plot. Same settings. Let's see where this one lines up. Looking pretty similar so far. But, again, the theory might be just that there's maybe more blue. So we might see a more predominantly blue cluster up here, over here on the right as it develops. But still definitely filling in this curve like right around my head like it did before. But that's that like yellow-orange range of the hue spectrum. Okay, there's that blue streak. It just popped in over there on the right. So is it shifted more towards the blue? It might be. I don't know. Okay, now we've got 2 episodes to look at. We can sort of compare them. Let me pull this up in a new window. I'll make a new window on here. Episode, okay, so here's S1 and here's S2. Side by side, and the idea is that, I mean, if our hypothesis works, we should be able to see some of these differences at this macro scale. And I'm just kind of, eyeballing it, of course, but I don't know. I'm not really seeing much that leads me to. There's no smoking gun, basically. The only thing I did sort of notice is like that there's that blue streak. There's also this red streak, though. So if we're looking at like, is blue a dominant color for this episode? Not really, and like not throughout. I mean, maybe it's more blue than the other one was. Yeah, I mean, there's no blue streak here, so on balance, maybe that works out. I think what would be interesting for this claim actually would be to do, like, I don't even know how if this would work, but when you're doing document comparisons, there's something called TF-IDF analysis, where you do term frequency and inverse document frequency, which is basically it's a statistical, like a way of it's a way of saying, like, what are the words that are unusually dominant in a particular document. So of all the documents, which words are more strongly associated with this particular document and make it different from all the other ones. So if we did that kind of analysis with pixels, we might be able to say that there's a stronger association of blue with this episode, even though statistically the amount of blue is not very much. It's just that there's relatively more blue than all the other episodes, if we wanted to pursue that theory. Okay, interesting idea. So let's try episode 3, because I have that one too. Actually, I'll just refresh everything here. Start over. Oh no, the browser froze. Come back, browser. Img does actually take a lot of memory, so it could just be it's overwhelmed Chrome. Okay, I'll just start over again. It takes your browser's memory, so it's not using my server memory at all. So your experience with it may be different. Like, you may find yours is a bit slower than mine, or faster. Okay, so let's open that. Only 1,231 files in this episode. Interesting. Okay, let's do the basic barcode first. And really often this first barcode gives you what you need to know. Well, that's a lot of purple. Okay, so that's my first takeaway there. There's a lot of purple in this episode. It's just a really pretty looking image too, actually. So episode 3, this one is 3. Barcode. Polyol.png. Interesting. Let's take a look at these other views. Let's do the average color. And this average color might be more interesting than usual because of how, like, monochromatically purple that middle section is. Yeah, look at it. That's very purple. Huh. Okay, so save this one. We'll call this barcode average. And then let's do the dominant one too. Or no, let's skip it. Let's do the palette. Right, because we found that the dominant one wasn't usually very interesting. Because this one also gives us the dominant color anyways, the top row of this palette. Let's see how these come out. Yeah, again, look at all that purple. I guess one other thing that this algorithm assumes is a kind of threshold between colors and like what it counts as the same color. And that's something that I would have to look into the code to remember how it distinguishes that. Like, it might give you more comparable results if it had fewer colors to choose from, basically. In other words, if it looked at each pixel and decided what is the nearest color out of like a more limited palette of like 128 colors, then you might have a bit more. I don't know. I have to look into that. That would be an important thing to have. So we'll call barcode barcode. God, we got PNG. Okay, and we'll do the montage. where once again the purple really does stand out. So even if it's not necessarily true, or it's harder to prove the case for episode 2, then at least for episode 3, it does definitely look like it's that, you know, the purple one. I don't remember which. I can never remember which one is which, but it's the purple one. Okay, so then that was the montage. Let's do the plot. Hue brightness again, and see where this goes. And I mean, surely we're going to see a difference here. I guess purple would be all the way to the right. So we should see that right side getting a little bit more action. Yeah, there it goes. But I think, yeah, because of how monochromatic those shots are, I think that it is going to be a lot of those images piling up there, those frames piling up there, but they're going to be really tightly clustered, and so they may not look as big because they'll all be basically in the same spot because of how monochromatic they are. But that's definitely very, I mean, that's even still, that you can tell that there's a lot over in that area, a lot more than usual. Okay, is it done? Yeah. Yeah, really different than episode 2, certainly. So that's the plot. Hue plot, is what we're calling that. All right, interesting. So let's put these all 3 together, or next to each other. So S1, S2, and all right, so we've got, let's put them in order here on my screen so I can look at them. S1 at the top, 2 in the middle, 3 in the bottom. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at the plots in particular because those seem like the best opportunity for differences, and they do look different from each other. But yeah, the purple really stands out in episode 3, but in episode 1 and 2, yellow, yellowish is probably the most popular thing. Although there's a bit more of a green and there's a little bit of blue in episode 2. So I don't know. Now I have seen episodes 4 and 5, but I don't have them downloaded. I'm pretty curious to see how those do with this analysis. So I will try that, and if I find anything interesting, I'll let you know. But the next thing I want to try is I want to use ImageJ, which is a different tool, and it's going to let me do the Z projection stacking, where I can put all of the frames of an episode into a single image. So let me try that. So this is ImageJ is, I don't even know who makes it, but you can download it from the National Institute for Health, and it's I'm using the desktop application here. I still can't get the web version to work. I tried it yesterday on the stream just to see if I could get it, and I just can't figure out how you're supposed to put stuff in it. But ImageJ, it's just this little bitty window here at first, and I'm going to use it to import some images and then do some work. So let me browse to my Loki stuff here. Let's do episode 1 first. Sort names very okay, good. And so it's going to do some work now to import all of those. This does take a little bit. It's going to have to go through each of those images and then pull them into memory. But as you can see, I've got a progress bar so I can keep an eye on it. Hopefully, surely I'm not going to run out of memory on this computer. But I used to have that problem on my old computer. It would run out, or on my Mac, it'll run out of space to remember all of the images. And that's an issue, but it seems to be doing okay at the moment. So once they're all imported, then I'll be able to process them, but I have to get them imported into ImageJ first. And then there's a few different things I can do with it in ImageJ, so I'll do all of those things, and then I will work on the next episode. And the ImageJ, I don't want to run ImageJ simultaneously like I was doing with ffmpeg, just because it's wonkier, and you have all these little windows to keep track of, so I'd rather not have to mess with that. Hope everyone's having a good afternoon, by the way. Thanks for watching the stream. I'm gone almost an hour, but I'm going to keep going. You're welcome to keep watching if you want to, obviously. This is kind of me just playing around, so I think it's interesting. But if you've got other things to do, that's okay. The main thing I would say to students, if you're watching, is that your first step probably should be to figure out like what do you want to work on, like what for your methodology project, like not what method necessarily, but like what question do you have, like what thing are you trying to figure out, or hypothesis are you trying to test, and then try to find the tool that will give you the best answer for that. Oh, interesting. The cal came in black and white. Did I forget a setting? I think I did. Okay, so what did I do wrong? I did something wrong. Image sequence. Oh yeah, RGB. That's important. All right, so this will have to do this again. It's gonna take a little bit of time. You know what, I'm gonna go get a drink because I'm getting thirsty, but I'm gonna come back. I'm just gonna step away and I'll let this run. I'll put on some music while I'm gone, but I need to get a drink because I'm thirsty. So I'll be right back. Enjoy some music while I step away for a moment. Okay, I'm back, just as it is almost done, it looks like. Alright, so now let's see if this looks right, and it does. Those are colors. That's what I needed to see. Great, so let's see if I can. Now I don't want to close this. You know what, I probably should have made these images smaller before importing them, but this computer seems okay, so I'm gonna roll with it. Alright, so the next thing is to stack it. So it goes like this. You go to image, and then stacks, and then Z project. And then when you Z project, there are 3 or 4 different Z projections you can do. And average intensity, max intensity, min, sum, deviation, median. Sum is usually the most interesting one. So that's the default. And we're going to go ahead and choose that one. This should run a little bit faster than the importing because it's all already in memory. Let's see. Okay, so you can definitely see the credits there. You know, it runs through these in order, so the credits would have been added last. I wonder if we can change that actually. Otherwise, those are always going to kind of predominate. But all right, that's kind of okay. I don't know. It's not as interesting as I hoped it would be. All right. Well, let me save this and try a couple of other different visualizations. Okay, so let's try. Another thing too is sometimes making the image smaller actually makes more interesting looking things. Let's just try this one. Let's try average. Okay, very dark. Yeah, average is going to be, it's the, right, I mean, it's the mixing all the paint colors together effect is what you see there. Yeah, I'm not even going to save that. I want to try, what if I do the Z project, but, oh no, I can't. Well, actually, what if I stop before the credits? Because that would actually be one way to de-emphasize their look here. So I can actually find that since my images there are numbered, I can go to where the credits start, and I'll actually go let's say up to here, because that looks like that's where the actual end credits started. And since those end credit scenes are all basically, yeah, they're mostly the same. There are a few differences, but they are mostly the same. So I'm going to see if I can just make the Z projection and not show those. So 1367. Okay, and we'll go back to sum. Okay, yeah. Much lighter than I expected it to be, but still a nice sort of painterly look. You can definitely see some symmetry though, right? Because sort of here-ish, that looks like a face. There are a lot of, you know, mid-close shots on the show, and a lot of low shots I noticed. So that's kind of interesting. Some typographic stuff here, some floor tiles. You can see the pattern going there, making kind of a diamond shape. Or a triangle shape, kind of pointing towards that that head spot there. So that, that really does give you a sense of the compositional strategy. That's pretty interesting. I like this one. So it's always important, I think, to name files after what you've done with them so that you keep them straight, because you're going to end up, if you do this kind of stuff, you end up with a lot of very similar looking files, so it's easy to get them confused. Okay, so that was pretty interesting. Let me just do one more. Let me try max intensity on this one. Image stacks, Z project. Let's do max intensity. I think this might be interesting too. It'll probably just be very, very bright. Dang it. Drinking problem. Yeah, that's super bright. It's kind of cool, but it's... you can't do much with it. You know, interesting how you can see the... in the corners up there where the letterboxing cut off for the cloud scene, you can see a bit of the clouds peeking through up there. That's kind of cool. It's kind of neat artistically, but not very interesting as far as drawing any conclusions. So, all right, so that's okay. Let's go ahead and close out episode 1, and then let's do episode 2. Episode 2 is here. Select, and make sure I select RGB. And if I, to make this go faster, one thing I really should do is just kind of batch convert all of these images to make them smaller. But I don't know if I have the right tool on this computer to do that. I don't have Mogrify is a really nice command line tool for changing lots of images all at once, but I don't have it on this computer. I thought it came with Image Magic though. Do I not have Image Magic on here? File system. I'm just playing around while this is. Oh, convert is something else on Windows than it is. Okay, shouldn't do that. But do I have Image Magic in my environment path? No, I don't. I have Image Magic here somewhere, but I guess I need to work on that later. Yeah, Mogrify, it's part of the Image Magic toolkit, and you can install it on a Mac, which is how I normally work on stuff like this. And it goes pretty quickly to batch convert a whole bunch of things. There's different ways to do batch conversions, but that one works pretty well. If you're comfortable on the command line. I'm still getting used to using Windows, by the way, so there might be an even easier way to do it. No, I don't want to. Almost done here. Yeah, it's because these images are 1920 by 1080. Like, these are full HD images, so that's why it's a lot of pixels to process, for each frame. This episode does look darker. All right, so I'm gonna just shrink this down so it's not in the way, and then do the stacking thing. So let's do a Z project again. We'll do, yeah, we'll go, no, actually we're gonna figure out how to cut off the credits for this one too. Find the right number, the right exit point. Oh, that red streak, that was when he decided to leave. Yeah, okay, that's why it is kind of a significant scene. Okay, so those credits start at 14:55. So, where's image date? There you are. So let's do the Z project again. Stacks, Z project, and 14:55. Right, let's do the sum first. Kind of creepy. There's definitely some structure in it, though. There's definitely something kind of in the middle. Like, that's why I was thinking it's kind of creepy. It's almost like this, like a stain on a tapestry. You know, like what is it? The Shroud of Turin? It kind of looks like that. Because there is kind of a structure in the middle there. Kind of like there's a face maybe and a body there. But you really see the symmetry again, like the fact that there's something that's in exactly the center. Yeah, a lot of TV shows aren't shot that way. If you do this kind of thing, you'll see that there's like big face type blobs kind of in the middle third, like, or the left third, and then another one on the other third. Because a lot of TV shows have people talking to each other, and so their faces are kind of shot the same way. And you see that a lot, but this looks pretty different. I'm really kind of interested in this now that I'm doing this analysis. Okay, so we'll put this in our folder to look at again later. Yeah, that's probably all for now. Let me try episode 3. And that'll be my final thing. Yeah, I'm definitely going to try the other episodes now. Oh, I forgot to import first. Import image sequence. Browse episode 3 frames. Make sure that's RGB, sort numerically. Okay, go. Yeah, so pretty curious to see what this one's going to look like soon. Yeah, I don't know what those geometric shapes were. I mean, there are a lot of shelves in the background, like in this kind of shot, so might be holdovers from that, but I don't know. Yeah, lots of shots of paper in that episode. Yeah, I wonder if I can do, trying to think of how I could do TF-IDF style analysis on pixel color. It would be a lot to process, but totally doable, I think. Okay, so here's the stack, or the sequence, rather. You can see how purple this episode was. Very purple. So that's a nice one to move over out of the way, and then let's try the projection. So let's do the image stacks, Z project, and oh yeah, I gotta figure out where the credits start on episode 3. Where is episode? This thing. Episode 3. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. So this one is 1088. 1088. Okay, again, I'm going to try the sum slices option and see how that goes. Should be quicker since this one has fewer. A little bit quicker. Oh yeah, look at that. That is very different. I think you're seeing, there's like an orb kind of shape here. I think these are parts of that train scene, the scene on the train, which occurs kind of near the end of the episode. But you also see, again, that bilateral horizontal symmetry focusing on a face kind of right in the middle, it looks like. That's really interesting. So I'll put this in the folder. And, I did want to also try 2001: A Space Odyssey, because I have it here. I am going to go and do that now. I thought I would be done after this episode, but I think I'm going to go and do that, even though I don't know if anyone's watching, but I'm curious because I'm really interested in this bilateral symmetry thing, because I feel like that's a Kubrick thing. I'm not a film historian or scholar, but I feel like I've noticed that in Kubrick films. So I'm going to do that real quick and then see what we can make of it. There it is. So let's do, I'm going to make a folder for it. Can I not move things in here? So yeah, I was just trying to do the equivalent of drag and drop in the command line, but it didn't work. So okay, so let's do ffmpeg again. Just 2.5. I think getting a higher frame rate actually could be pretty interesting, but I'm not going to do that for now. This is going to be, this is a 2.5 hour movie, so I hope that's enough. I'm going to go ahead and give it an extra digit to work with. So this may yet take a while, even though the resolution is much lower for this. I just got a pretty low, I think anyway. I don't think I got an HD version. I downloaded it from some, website. Okay, it's only 612 by 2288, so it might go pretty fast. And also should process a lot faster. But anyway, I don't know what I'm going to find here, but that's part of the fun of doing this thing. This kind of work. I'm just going to do the image JZ projection and see how that goes. I'm not going to go all the way through the other things on the stream anyway. I just thought I'd turn on some background music. I can't hear it, so I hope it's interesting. I hope it's not too distracting. Alright, so that's done. Let's try the image thing with it. So let's import image sequence. We'll go with RGB. I'm not going to worry about the credit cropping on this one. Alright, so it is 4,000 images. That's going to take a minute to import. Maybe a couple minutes. This would be helpful to make these smaller, but I think it's just that there's so many. It probably is importing them faster, but it has a lot of them to get through. Yeah, there's that bilateral symmetry thing, right? This is the I think kind of the point of this opening scene, right? Is that like there's these like pre-human kind of creatures hopping around, and their world is chaos and disorder and dirt and stuff, but then this monolith shows up, this big symmetrical thing. Where's that shot I just had? So that, that's for like here it is. So this thing, like that's kind of the idea that's being introduced to these creatures is symmetry and order. At least that's how I take it. Then yeah, I love. Like, look at these chairs; those are crazy. And yeah, all this geometry. Fascinating. Okay. How is image day going? Okay, about halfway done. Yeah, like even their conference room looks super scientific. Movie came out in 1968. Which is a year when everyone was interested in space, obviously. So you got an iPad. Yeah, I love all the little interfaces, like the little screens and controls they had to create for this. Like the people who made the movie. Yeah, there's some symmetry there for you, bilateral symmetry. We got two people talking, but look at how that picture is composed around that central kind of egg-shaped thing. I'd be really interested to see if that appears in the outcome. Again, yeah, symmetrical controls. I think there's something going on here. Yep. Symmetrical. Okay, so there we go. We got the whole movie here. Let's do some stacking. And stacks. Let's do the Z project. And we'll just do the sum slice and see how that goes. Should go pretty quickly. Oh yeah, okay. Kind of messy looking. Messier than I thought. It isn't totally symmetrical, but it's something. I mean, there is some symmetrical stuff in there. There's a geometrical thing, and it looks shifted to the right a little bit. I don't know why that is. All right, well, save that result. Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the stream for today. Thanks for watching, everyone who's still with me. I was mainly just going through some things, trying to figure out if I can explore the hypothesis that there are meaningful color choices in Loki, and I think there might be something, especially episode 3 compared to episode 1. Episode 2, though, it's hard to say. And I'm also testing the theory that we can actually get a bit of an idea of their influences in Loki, whoever the cinematographer is, in terms of their mise-en-scene or how they put together the shot. And I feel like there are some echoes of Stanley Kubrick, so I thought I would try to run this movie through some of that same software and see if it looks similar. And honestly, I don't know if it does. It's kind of subjective. It's hard to say, but it looks cool if nothing else. All right, well, I'll wrap it up. I will stream again tomorrow. Tomorrow will be much more about HTML and CSS, so I can help you all get your projects ready and completed this week. And yeah, that's it. So thanks for sticking with me a little bit longer, if you have. And I will see you again tomorrow. If I can help with your projects or anything else, please let me know. Otherwise, that's it for now. Bye.